Hello there. How you doing, Sheila?
Hey, what up, Dave? What's up? Happy Sensational Sunday.
Yes, you too. You too. Today's guest is Sheila Smiley. Sheila was on the Comedian Podcast. Sheila does a lot of stuff. She does acting.
I'm not
She's
Jamaican either.
yeah. So you do.
3 job, 4 job, 5 job, 6 job,
How many jobs you got?
mini job, mini job, and those who don't have at least 16 jobs are lazy.
They're lazy people. Yeah, I think that was a Living Color skit. I think back in the day, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've had some of the jobs you've had, not all at once. You've actress, stand-up comedian. You mentioned to me, I think actually you mentioned during the podcast that you kind of got tired of the stand-up comedy lounge scene, and you've now gone into doing more like private parties, being invited. I think you do some corporate kind of events and whatnot.
My clothes on, people.
You're what?
I said, with my clothes on, people.
Right. We just have to put that disclaimer in.
And extra, just saying.
It goes to another level.
Right. It goes to the deepest spiritual points of us. I'm just saying.
Well, we're born naked, right?
Right. Naked.
Why not make money naked?
Right.
You have an very interesting perspective that I wanted to, I've had most of the folks who did the comedian, like round table or virtual table. There was no round table, but, I've had most of them on, and it's going to be coming up. It's already happened by the time we see this one.
God.
But yeah, I think what's really interesting is that I think comedians bring a very, very interesting perspective to things. They can talk about stuff in a way. We talked a lot about cancel culture, trying to get in there and knock out different views. And now I think you're seeing a resurgence of certain comedians like Jim Brewer, always Dave Chappelle, who are kind of punching back, realizing that it's entering into a form of like Marxist authoritarian fascism almost. If you can't express a thought, like I'm going to support people expressing thoughts. I express woke people, or even these Marxist people expressing their own thoughts, because they should express their thoughts. Just doesn't mean the whole society should bend and change to their will. But you bring a very interesting and different perspective. And I want you to talk a little bit about why you have gone from, you started, like what your journey's been. You did some acting, you've done.
Sure. That's a great segue. So thank you so much. I love DL. Everyone, this dude is absolutely phenomenal. He and his lovely wife, and he's not paying me to say that. So here we go. Now, I want to go back to something you said, and to me, this is super important for who I am on the planet. You mentioned getting tired of the comedy lounge type of experience. So it wasn't about me being tired. I'm a very energetic person, so it takes a long time to get me tired. But it's not even about I was tired. I literally was taken out of that scene. And not so, it's just a transformation. So when I had my spiritual and conscious awakening on a deeper level in 2018, the universe, spirit, my guides guided me out of that experience. And mind you, I will do, and it's never that I will never go back into a club. I mean, I've been in clubs since then, supporting others, and I got a chance to open for a really big act, and this was in the South, and the act is big there. Like they have a name there. So like, of course, if Dave calls me in Seinfeld, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, God told me not to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is really honoring my values and my worth. Listen, I've been doing stand-up since the late 1990s. That's when I started my journey. And in 2000, I really started, I turned professional. But Dave, the most I've ever made in one stand-up gig, saying just like a 20-minute, a 30-minute set, the most I've ever made in that one sitting is like $350. All right. The most I've ever made as a comedian in a week, and this was doing a 4-day gig as an MC, was $6,000, and it was a private gig. So I've been doing stand up for like 20 years. And when I calculated all of the gigs, I've done over 3,000 shows, 3,000 plus shows. And literally, I have not made what I've made, as a human being, like, and this is my passion. So, I had to really follow the guidance. I'm sorry, let me close. I'm in New York City, so you guys are actually hearing the music of Manhattan, which is burnt, but okay. So yeah, one of the things that I said to Spirit when I had this awakening, and I could sense in my intuition that I was going to be pulled out of the clubs, I was like, listen, if this means that I have to stop being funny and be expressing myself as a comedian, I don't want that. I'm not gonna, I'm sorry, God, I don't want to do it. And so I went through this very dark night of the soul period, and most spiritual evolved people and conscious awakened people know what the dark night of the soul it is. It's really it sounds like you had a little bit of that this summer. But it's really when your soul is evolving and you're leaving the 3D matrix. You're awakening to the truth of what's happening on our planet, and you're awakening to the truth of your gifts and who you are. You're no longer connected to religiosity and structures, and you let go of all of the human conditions of struggle that have depicted you your whole life. So you evolve into this, and it's painful. It's like you're leaving structures, relationships. You see people for who they are. You see yourself, and it's a very lonely, painful experience. And most of the time, if you're with someone, the relationship ends. And so I was in a very intense relationship, and I discovered that this person was actually my twin flame, which is a deeper evolution. It's a deeper relationship than a soulmate. It's really a person who agreed to, it's two souls, and it's one soul and two bodies. And so that triggered my spiritual evolution. And so I started doing work. I was still doing shows and commercials as an actor, and I was doing more local comedy shows. And then I started thinking about, who am I now as a comedian, and what can I contribute to the planet with my gifts, all of my psychic gifts, all of my intuitions. It started just like beaming. I could see people and tell them what's happening in their lives. And so the universe and my intuition and my guides gave me, you're the clairvoyant comic and happy healer, and yes, you can be just as funny. Now here's the thing: when I was a Christian, I wouldn't use profanity because I felt like, this was you. And I grew up in the church. My whole life was born again Christianity, speaking in tongues. I was a minister in the church, Sunday school teacher. So this was hard for me, and it was hard for my family. And I literally did a video call coming out of my spiritual closet. I had people that I grew up with, that I was in the church with, that I served in the ministry with, sending me just messages of anger, like, what are you doing? You're going to hell. This is not what God called you to do. And if you need money, there's another way. God will take care of you. Why are you in the devil's den? You should have never went to New York. Like I was like, all control delete. I was just deleting so many. And these were Christians that knew me from Cleveland, where I'm from. And then I had to realize that they are experiencing me from who I was. And it makes a lot of sense for them to judge me and be angry and fear for me. Some of them were really like, Sheila, I love you. What's going on? I don't want you to go to hell. The devil is tricking you. And I like, God, Jesus, help me to see that they can only experience me as who I was, and don't get upset with them, because it's like anybody who you love, and and if it's your religion that says if you do this, you're going to hell, they only wanted to prevent me from that dark experience. Well, they don't know I was already in hell before this. So I had to like love them and say, listen, I'm okay. This is just my journey, and I appreciate the love. Whereas before I was like, bitch. I realized that they were this is their experience. So I had to let that go. And so my journey has been, and I have a book coming out called From Homeless to Hollywood, because I literally was homeless, Dave. I went through this, and I'm dealing with a lot of that, rebuilding my life as an intuitive entertainer, saying no to certain projects before, where I would just be like this desperate actor taking anything. Yeah, how much is it paying? Okay, fine. That it's only $75. I can still do it. Oh, it's only $200 to do this commercial. This voiceover only pays $175. I'll do it. Now, no, I know my worth. I know my value. And I know who I am now. And I trust my intuition, and I trust the universe to bring the right projects to me that are in alignment to my soul's blueprint. And I help others. I'm also a certified life coach and a spiritual coach. So I help others right now. Where you see me at, I don't know if you can see this. I just want to give you, can you see that?
Yeah, I can't see the top.
Okay, hold on. Let me just take you. I'm actually giving you a tour.
You're getting a tour.
Cool. I'm at Namaste Bookstore. You can
sweet.
see all the spirituality here. And fun and yoga and meditation. So this is on the weekends. This is where I serve as a spiritual advisor. And I do spiritual readings for people, energy healing sessions. And I'm known as the Clairvoyant Comic. So when people come to me, they know it's going to be a fun, uplifting, funny experience. That's what differentiates me from other spiritual advisors here.
That, I've had my experience with spiritual advisors who told me they were enlightened. And as time went on, I found out they were not, so, which was a valuable lesson, because the ultimate teacher at the end of the day is going to be yourself, and it's going to be God. And you really can't, and I found the people who get that, that's how, as time has gone on, I've always been able to tell if somebody is legit or not. If they have the attitude that they need to be a part of the process, they don't. They can assist, and then all teachers in time fade away. And then you discover where you're meant to be heading. I'm curious. I'm always fascinated with people who had that enlightenment moment, that awakening. So I have two questions for you on that. The first one is, were you working towards that, or did it just happen? And then the second part is, what was it like for you? What was that shift?
Yeah. No, I was not. So I'm going to say yes and no. And I say yes because, Dave, my whole life has always been about evolution, spiritual. I mean, when I was a kid, I knew early on that I was not from this planet. And through my work, I've discovered that I really am not from this planet. I'm not sure if you are aware that there are humans who are also aliens. And so, and aliens in the sense that our origin is not Earth. So my origin is not Earth. I'm a starseed. And, I found out where my star constellation is through what's called the Akashic Records. And so early on, I used to always have these experiences with spirits, with ghosts, with all kinds of energies, and I didn't understand. And of course, I grew up in the church, so I was told that these were demons and there was the darkness. And so I grew up afraid of everything, because all of this stuff normally happened in the dark, or when I was alone as a kid and I would walk down the street, I would hear guidance, and I would hear things calling me in the sky, and I would look up in the sky, and I would go, I'm not from here. I'm not from here. And then my family was just, I grew up in a family, a very loving family, but very violent. And I grew up around murder and drugs and alcohol. And I saw my dad get murdered when I was young by my mom's brother. So my whole life was just wrapped in a lot of violence. And I don't know how, well, I guess I would say it's God in the universe, but I was this ivy branch growing up around a lot of darkness, and I was just trying to figure it out. And I just knew I was not from Earth, and I didn't know what that means. So growing up, I couldn't talk to anybody about this really, because my family was very religious, even though they killed on Mondays and served on Sundays, like the
mafia.
Like the mafia, exactly.
Right.
But there was no one to talk to but God. So I kind of was afraid all my life from having these experiences. So I pushed them, I would rebuke them. This is what we were taught in the church. If you see a spirit, you rebuke it in the name of Jesus, you curse it. So I did these to my guides, and it left me for a while because I thought it was, and then when I was in college, it came back. And I grew up, and I was a minister. So I always had my core experience, spirituality was church, was the black church, the gospel church, Christianity, born again Christianity. And that evolved because my relationship with God started changing after I lost my mother. And then I lost my brother through death. Death brought me to a place of, this cannot be all there is, not even in the church. Even in my experience in the church, I came to it when my mother died. I just was like, okay, I'm done. Because that year I lost my 6-year-old nephew. This was in 96. I lost my brother-in-law and my mom, who preached with me at his funeral. Then a month later, she died. And then my 6-year-old nephew that year. And I said, God, I'm done. Like, whatever is happening in my life, all my life, I've served you. I don't know what this is. And I can't do this anymore. And that led me on this journey of who am I and what's going on, and why are all of my family members, like the death angel swept through my family, 6 family members back to back.
No.
I was just like, church cannot be all. And I had spent my whole life in the church serving, and I was like, so that led me to let go of religiosity. And I was never a religious person, but just church stuff. And I left the church and never went back. And that led me to just discovering who God is in my life outside of the church, outside of a pastor or a preacher telling me what to think and how to feel and all of that stuff, which started leading me to just loving people without all of the stuff that I was told I need to love. If this person don't love Jesus, then you don't love them. If this person is gay, they're going to hell. Like all of the stuff that religion teaches, separation and duality. And I don't make that experience wrong. A lot of awakened people, they curse the church, they curse religion, they curse, that's not me, because who I am is from that experience. I'm a Jesus fan all the way. I'm gonna ride with Jesus all the way to the end. I also love Buddha. I love all the ascended masters, because I know what this is about now. But I don't curse my church experience, because it's because of that experience that I get to say it's all love. It is all love, and we can always create a place of new possibilities of existing on this planet when love is involved. And all Jesus did, I tell my friends, Jesus ain't did nothing to you Jews. Jesus ain't did nothing to you. All he did was came to love. All of this other stuff y'all made up about him, all of this other stuff of hate and anger and all, that's not what Jesus came to do. It's love. And at the end of the day, it's love. Jesus came to preach love. All the ascended masters came to teach love. And if we're not loving, no matter where you are, whatever religion or your faith is, if you don't love then you're out of the game in the first place. So go somewhere else with that. If you're not speaking love, we can't speak at all. Bye, Felicia. So at the end of the day, for me, it's love. And when you stop loving your life and you stop loving the industry that you're in as a comedian, I have passion. I never stopped loving performing as a comedian. I never stopped loving being in front of people and inspiring them to forget about their concerns, taking them to a place where they're like, oh my God, I feel so good. I'm not one of those comedians who care for a laugh. I care if I am transforming your soul. I want you to feel my energy long after this show is over. And hopefully I've said something that will let you know how valuable you are way after this show is over. And that became my mission and my passion. So I start deeming myself the mad Black comedian. I started doing shows as that, which is making a difference. I would tell people, no, I'm not an angry Black woman. MAD, I just want to make a difference. And that started leading me to circles of conscious awakening souls. And then bam, I was married for 9 years. And, my marriage, I was married to an amazing man from London, a British West Indian dude, but we just were not, he was a karmic partner, meaning he was my lesson. And in that, I discovered that I wanted a spiritual partner, that whoever I life with, I want them to be spiritually involved. Then my marriage broke up, and then I met my twin flame in we were friends for 10 years. And this dude was chasing me for like 7 years. And I was like, dude, you too short. Bye. I don't want to do nothing. If you right here, you can't get on this ride. I'm just saying. But, after all the chasing, this energy happened between us, which was crazy. And, we started dating. I fell in love with him. And I found out after we broke up that he was my twin flame. And once we separated, it triggered this separation of my soul. I went through hell. Like literally, it felt like someone had put me on fire. And I was burning physically on the inside after we separated. And to the point, Dave, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. And I was like, what? Normally when I break up with the guy, I'm just like, bye, bitch, I'm done. Like, dude, I'm able to pray and hit control, alt, delete, say, thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the blessing. And I kept doing it over and over, and nothing was changing. I was like, I want this pain gone, God. What is this person? And I finally just had an emotional breakdown. And Dave, I kid you not, my computer it was one night I was in tears. I was crying because I was going through hell. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get this person out of my system. And during this breakdown, this light came in my apartment at the time where I was living, and it was my computer. My computer just came on, and I walked over to my computer, and I scrolled down, and this video on YouTube popped up, and it said twin flames and separation. And that it literally was like the Holy Spirit, the universe, the angels just popped that answer in front of me. I didn't have to go search it. It literally was there. And so I began to study and learn about what this twin flame is all about, what the relationship is. And I discovered that's exactly who I was and what this person was to me, and why I was experiencing the emotional, spiritual, and physical pain, because it's literally one soul that agrees to express itself in two bodies, and who comes and incarnate as humans to transform the planet to harmonious, to help the divine masculine men and women come together in harmonious union to create a world of change. And so he was not awakened at all, although he was always, as me, had a born again Christian background. So when I discovered that, as I was going through my dark night of the soul, even though it was still painful, it made a lot of sense. All of the things that I was experiencing, the symptoms, the ascension symptoms, it is associated with what happens when twin flames separate.
Mm-hmm.
So that led me to really start fine-tuning my psychic ability started growing. We started telepathically communicating, and I knew that I could not go back to my old life. I knew every secular job I tried to get, the universe would shut the door. Every time I went into a club, I would get sick, nauseated, and throw up. And I knew, I was like, okay, this life is over, but what is it going to turn into? As long as I can still be myself as a comedian and serve, I'm okay, even if it means conscious comedy, which I don't like that term, because to me it's a bunch of corporate people just trying to make a lot of fucking money. But that's been my journey. And so now I don't chase how I used to chase opportunities, and I don't produce I used to produce shows all the time. I don't produce a lot of shows anymore, just because, I need to align with awakened people, or comedians who are not always using the N word, or, I'm profanity, I'm fine with. It's colorful language, but if, people who are just so committed to still spreading separatism, which is what comedy has birthed from. I mean, you got comedians who are just, talking about let's get along, that's not going to sell. And I get that. But if it's always a message of hurt and pain and separation and, causing people to feel worse than they felt when they came into that space, that's not a space I want to be in.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. A friend of mine, I think I mentioned this at some point, but I might not have. A friend of mine went and did stand up. He always wanted to do it, and he finally did. And I'm always a big one for just do it. Just do it. Just do it. You never know. Just do it. Who the hell knows? Do it. Do it. Do it. Like I never replanted flowers. Every time I did, they died. But I finally decided a couple of years ago I was going to replant some things that my grandparents had planted.
Nice.
And I zoned out, and I just felt like I knew how to do it, and I did it. And then as I would dig a hole, I'd find these huge earthworms. So I put an earthworm where I put each replanted plant. And I just did it. I just said, hey, I'm just going to do it. Let me see what happens. And let's get all of my fears and all the ego that's going to get in my way out of the way, and just go for it. And I've done that with a lot of things. Even when I started directing, I was acting like I was a director. I didn't know what I was doing. I just felt like, well, what do you do know? You know how to talk to people about acting, and you know how to listen to what their concerns are. Well, put their concerns at ease and help them feel confident, and they'll do a kick-ass job. So my friend, when he wanted to do stand-up, I was like, just do it. Just go for it. Give it a shot. And he went up and he did it. And it was interesting because almost every comedian that got up started their bit with, yeah, recently divorced. And I'm like, I felt like they all went to the same comedy school, because it was one of those things, I'm sure you're aware of it, where it's like 5-minute set, 5-minute set, 5-minute set. One guy walks off, a girl walks on, girl walks off, another guy. It's just like, and a bunch of them, like out of the 20, I swear to God, I had to be like 12 of them were like, recently divorced. And I felt like it was a way for them to have, felt like it was like a protective something for them, to start off that way, like, don't expect too much, or something.
I'm apologize up front.
That I'm about to stink up this room more than that bathroom out there.
Right.
But yeah, it was interesting. And what I find about comedians, the thing that everyone has in common is we all like to laugh. You could find the most bitter, curmudgeon son of a bitch that's ever existed, and even Hitler fucking laughed. I mean, at the end of the day, all right? Saddam Hussein laughed. God knows at what, but he laughed at something.
I killed 4,000 people today.
Yeah, my two sons went out and, took a bunch of people out of their homes. But it's like, with that, there's this common language of laughing, and that people will laugh. And I think what comedians do, which is really epic, is being able to find that commonality. But there are some comedians, that are far more divisive and negative, or they were at one point in time, and then they change. And then you have some comedians that are just so play it so safe. You just can't, like, I don't want to start naming people, but there's some people that just are, that you can't, I just can't watch them, because I'm like, it's like, what are we doing? Like, everything is this safe thing. And I feel like there's a part of comedy that what I like is, when you break down the ego, and you break down things that you're holding yourself to, that, if someone says this about me, I'm going to get upset. Once you get beyond that, you just start laughing at sometimes the absurdity of being a person. Like,
yeah. Oh, I love that, Dave. I love that radical statement. And I see you're 5, and I'm gonna raise you 10, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what you just said was completely radical. Now, how's this for radical for the audience? Okay, people, you just got some powerful nuggets from our brother DL. We're going to take it a step farther. Here's something else that's radical. Life is empty and meaningless. And the fact that life is empty and meaningless is also empty and meaningless. So if we all took on that life is empty and meaningless, and the fact that life is empty and meaningless is empty and meaningless, what freedoms would we experience when we look at each other? And if you call me a bitch, Dave, that's empty and meaningless. If you get fired from your job, that's empty and meaningless. Chris Rock being slapped by Will Smith is empty and meaningless. Meaning, if we stop becoming meaning-making machines, the power of opportunity and creativity and love and new possibility that we can create as humans would be so different. Now, I'm not saying walk around. We all have to give accountability for our actions, right? But at the end of the day, when we really take on that life is empty and meaningless, you said something very early on in our conversation, and you said suffering is a result of expectation. It's a result of expectation. Even in your marriage with Janine, Dave, if she has an expectation on you for a specific thing and you don't fulfill on that, it's going to create a lot of suffering, because she's going to make it mean that you don't love her.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's a couple of things. I've heard the life is meaningless, and I feel like life is a canvas, like a painting, and it's what you decide to paint it as. Do you want to paint something glorious? Do you want to paint something bleak and depressing? That's how in the stuff that I've kind of experienced and read, I've taken it to. I think ultimately, life is beautiful. Even death is beautiful. Tragedy. When I look back at tragedies that I've had, one of the most blissful moments, it's odd, never really talked about it, but when my grandmother passed away, we went to the nursing home. I walked in the room, and there she was, just laying in the bed, slight smile on her face, which was nice to see. Wow. And my aunt, my mother, my father didn't go in the room, but I did. It was almost like I was the one that was supposed to go in the room. So I went in the room, and I sat down next to her, and I just looked at her for a while, and I held her hand. And it was sad, but it was peaceful. There was a lot that had gone on prior to that with her health and whatnot. Now, I also could have gone into that room weeping and sobbing and crying and throwing myself on the bed, and my mother and father and aunt could have done the same thing, and a big thing.
You mean like a black funeral? I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we didn't, I didn't. That wasn't the vibe. That wasn't what I was painting with. So I think that there's a thing. I read this book. I don't know if you've ever read it, called "I Am That," um, by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. He passed away in like 1981. It was a long time ago. But he said, and it's similar to what you said, everything's a concept, expectation, right? Yeah. So if you have a concept / expectation of how your spouse or your friend or your family or your job or your day is supposed to go, that needs to live up to this fictional expectation concept that you've created. Yeah. And if it doesn't, then you're disappointed. I was talking about my birthdays, right? The birthday I didn't have any expectation was one of the best birthdays I've had since. It felt like a birthday I had back in 1984, which was fascinating. I had no expectations, so the energy just kind of flowed. And then when I had expectations, same thing with Christmas. When you have this expectation about what it's Christmas. It's got to be like a movie. We need to have all this jolly whatever, and then it's not, or there's a family disagreement, or there's a this or that or whatever, or it's 80. It's like a couple years ago, it was like 70 degrees on a Christmas. I was like, that just throws me off. I'm like, I'm not doing well with that. So the thing that this mystic had said, or I don't know if mystic's probably not the right word, in that I Am That book, and other people have kind of voiced it similar, like Gary Zukav with the Seed of the Soul book and whatnot.
Yeah, yes.
Is that, one of the keys is things are going to happen. Just don't have your expectation or your concept about what it's supposed to mean. Yeah. You choose how things are going to affect you, and it's either going to be beautiful. I mean, last weekend, something I was going through was I was really dreading the fall and the winter with the drearier days and everything.
Oh, wow.
And I realized I need to embrace this. I can't keep trying to run from it. Because the more you run, the more it chases.
Yeah, so what we resist persists.
Persists, right? Exactly. And I was down in my basement, my getaway. And like most men, we got to go down.
Janine, y'all.
No, she knows. She's helped me set it up. So she needs a break. But I opened up the door. I put on a football game. I listened, I had some music playing, and it was raining and it was cold out, and I was like, embrace this. And then before I know it, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. Like, this is a beautiful moment. It's gray, it's dreary, it's rainy. Looks like Seattle. I got a football game on.
And in your man cave. Come on, Dave.
But you have to embrace that stuff. And I used to always say to my friends when we were all younger and everyone's in their 20s and they're banging around trying to find, who they're going to be with. And I would be forced to have these moments of like monkhood where I could not get anything to happen with any girl. It was just like, and then I would sit there and think, maybe I should be a priest because nothing's happening. Maybe God's trying to tell me.
Of course, as soon as you become a freak, ass is just being thrown at you.
That's right. That's right. Like that friend of mine I told you about before we started recording. But I used to say to them, why are you so afraid to be alone? Just be alone. Take 6 months out, 4 months, 2 months, whatever it is, and just be alone. Don't be with anybody right away. Yeah. And so I remember one of them said to me, it terrifies me. And I found over the years it terrifies a lot of people. Now, I'm an only child. I love being alone.
Yeah.
I love quiet. I love saying, like, just listening to nothing. Like, it makes me very happy. It soothes me out. I've been taking these nice long, like 2-3 mile walks. I put on some music and I just reconnect. You reconnect with
your own soul stroll. I call that a soul stroll.
I love that. That's perfect. It's true though, and I used to do so much of that when I was younger, and then I stopped doing the walks. But the walks really just help you kind of reconnect, and you're with nature and you're looking at things. And now that it's colder, there's another beauty. I'm going to be doing these walks in the winter, be burning a lot more calories because it's going to be so much colder out. Yeah. But there's going to be a beauty in that too. So
I love that, DL. I absolutely love that. Embracing the moment. And when I love that you took that opportunity in your man cave with your football game, with the weather being what it was, and then having the visions like I feel like I'm in Seattle, and just deciding to choose to embrace the beauty of everything that was happening in that moment. Because it becomes so much more colorful, and you like, this is absolutely amazing.
Well, it's embracing duality. You know, it's
Yeah.
you have to embrace the negative with the positive. You have to embrace the light with the dark. Even like when you film an image in a movie, there's light and there's dark. There's shadow. If you had all light, you wouldn't have anything on the screen. If you had all dark, you wouldn't have anything on the screen.
That's right.
You need that connection and that combination, that mixture of both, because then that gives you an image. Now, how you choose to be attached to that image is where the secret lies. Do you stay so attached to it that it anchors you too much in one direction or the other, and then you fear the other?
Yeah.
I'm sure in the work that you do, you've met some very dark people who are trucking in a dark realm. And they're terrified of the light. They like to pretend they're not scared of anything. And I've met these people just in my day job, murderers, rapists, all that stuff. Legit fucked up people.
Yeah.
And they like to act like nothing scares them. They're fucking terrified of the light. And what I love about stuff like when you read the New Testament, you got the devil, which we can talk a little bit about that too, but acting like he's a badass.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you already lost before. If you follow,
do you know that Jesus kicked your ass, right? You do know that.
Well, it's in the it's like if you follow, if you follow the I forgot what they call it, but the fallen story and everything, the Lucifer story. You've already lost once. This is a losing game that you're playing, and you're going to lose again. But there'd be all this like bravado and shit, the ego, unfiltered. And then it would simply be, they have that great moment on Jesus of Nazareth, the old show from the 70s.
Yeah.
I remember talking to another priest that I knew when I was a kid, and I was talking to him about it. And I said, I love that moment when that guy is possessed and they bring him in front of Jesus, who Robert Powell did a great job, but he looked a little possessed too.
Yeah, he probably was on something.
Yeah, on that thing. And I just love it the way they shot it. The light's behind him. He raises his fingers and he just says, leave him. And the devil goes from being this badass to being terrified and getting out of the dude. And I think, but people who only truck in light are also terrified of the dark. They don't want any part of it.
Right.
And I think what all the spiritual teachers have done, that and enlightened people that do, that's brilliant and is the true secret that religion tries to get us to, is you're both and you're neither. It's the yin and yang symbol, but you're what is observing the yin and yang symbol. You're not the symbol. You're not the light or the dark or the circle. You're that thing that's aware of it, the consciousness.
Yes.
And, I think that that's something that, I went through a phase when I was doing spirituality reading where I hated religion. I was in that book. And then what happened was, I started to realize, religion, though, exists to help people get to a place or to provide comfort for people who maybe aren't able to reach that next level.
Yeah.
And it's just an interesting thing, So what's some experiences that you've had where you've kind of dealt with those darker people who are afraid of the light, or the lighter people who are afraid of the dark? How do you usually handle that or handle them?
Well, I'm the first example. Okay. The message is always coming first to the messenger. Mm-hmm. So, when my mom used to say, it's so funny, I said this to someone else. My mom was my best friend, even though we had like a really tough relationship. But she used to say, oh, so you think your shit don't stink either? You think your shit don't stink? Like we all boo-boo. And if you have an ass, it stinks. I'm just saying. I don't care who. Even little babies, their little booties stink sometimes. Okay.
More than adults sometimes. Yeah.
So, when I started really, it's interesting in the church. It's so you can really hide behind the piousness, and because I grew up so tough, Dave. Like, dude, I had 9 uncles who taught me how to fight. I grew up with 5 siblings, and my family was very violent. And so I was very tough. So when and my grandfather was a pastor, and so we grew up in the church, but we were tough. And so my experience of being a born again Christian was tough. I attracted the toughest, most powerful pastors and preachers because that is who I was. So I was a very strong Pentecostal Christian, and I didn't understand why people sinned, right? Why, like, Jesus is love, and all you got to do is follow, just follow your heart and do the right thing. And so it was so amazing. God would be bringing these very broken, drug addicts, prostitutes, kids who were beating up their parents. Like, I would be gays, and and I'm like, what? Really, Jesus? Like, I'm gonna be really, Jesus? Seriously. And I would, and when I would be one-on-one with them, I was a different person. I was loving and compassionate. But if I was preaching, it was a different thing. And I would be like, why are you bringing these people to me? What do you want me to say? I'm trying to give them your word, and your word says this, and that's against your word. And I remember the first time, because a lot of Christians preach against, homosexuality is a big topic. And that's all, like, this one year, that's all that was being preached: homosexuality, lesbianism, fornication. It's all a sin. And I remember encountering, I never had a one-on-one. And when I grew up, we used to go to this area in Cleveland, and where all the gays would hang out. And we would be like, come out of, yelling at them, what your lifestyle is wrong. Oh, you're nasty, you're gross. This is when I was a teenager, because this is what I was taught. And I'll remember when in my early 20s, and I was in the ministry, this huge transvestite. This dude was like 6'10", out of the blue, scared the living crap out of me, scared the bejesus out of me. Came out of, like, I'm in my apartment, I'm leaving my apartment to go and pray for someone. And this dude came out of the trash contracting room.
Yeah.
And he just tapped me on the he was like, how you doing? And how you doing? Hey, how you doing? I was like, hey. And you could tell he was, he was what he was. And he said, can I talk to you? And I'm like, sure. And he just started, it was like he was vomiting, Dave, his lifestyle. And he was having problems with his partner. I'm telling you, dude, he started vomiting on me. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, Sheila, just keep it together. He was telling me about their sex life. He was telling me how this dude, emotionally and verbally assaults him, and sometimes, and this is a 6'11", and he's like Big Bird, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, Jesus, why are you putting me, what do you want me to say? And after he finished talking, Dave, he looked at me, and I looked at him. He was waiting on something from me, and I just took him by the hand, and I just said, Jesus loves you. I said, you are an amazing human being. And I started praying for him. He started crying and picking me up. And I couldn't, and for the first time, I got, even through all of my religious teaching, that I was different, and that my call on this planet was to literally love people who are unlovable in the traditional church's eyes. And me and this dude became very good friends, and he would always come to me for guidance and prayer. And then I started being sent to couples who were having all kinds of problems. I would just knock on somebody's door, and if I hear them argue, and just share the love of God. It changed so many lives. So I had to face the fact that I was verbally bashing gays. I had to face the fact that I hated certain people. I hated my life. My mom raised us on welfare. I hated being on welfare. I
Mm-hmm.
hated the fact that I had to share my room with my brother. I hated that we had food stamps. This was all of the ugliness that I didn't want to face, my darkness of being poor and not having enough money to have my graduation cap and gown and having to borrow. Like, it was like I had to face all of my ugliness to stand in front of this transvestite and tell him that he was loved. And that
Mm-hmm.
began this whole series of me still being in the closet with, I love homosexuality. I can go back to church and say that. I was still, so I had this energy of being in this place and being in that place, and facing my own darkness. So when I encounter individuals like that, if they are dangerous, I face them with, it's going to be me or you. And it is not me. I come
Mm-hmm.
from a team. You might see a me, but there is a we, baby, because I
Mm-hmm.
have been around demonic spirits. I used to, I trained in demonology, and I would be around demonic spirits, meaning people who they're possessed. It's a lot of people walking around here like Legion with a lot of demons. When I
Mm-hmm.
first moved to New York, there was this demon walking up and down the train, and it was embodied in a male body, but this male identified with being a female, and this male had very little clothing on. And it was going up and down the subway in the train while the train was moving,
Mm-hmm.
hissing at people. Now in New York, that's not a big thing, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
automatically sensed the demon, and
Mm-hmm.
it was spitting on people and slapping people. And so I said, okay, because it was getting toward me, and I said, Spirit, in the name of Jesus, when this thing come near me, I want all of the life and the angels within me to come down hard. And I said, I don't have any weapons. So I got my key ring. My mom taught me this. I got my key ring and I wrapped it around my fist like
Mm-hmm.
like a ring, and you know what I'm saying, Dave. I
Yeah.
wrapped that
Yeah.
shit around my fist, and I said, devil, in the name of Jesus, if you come near me, I will take you out. And I kid you not, it kept coming, and then it would use the pole in the middle of the train and start dancing like sexually, and then laugh and then kick somebody else. So it kept getting closer to me. So I got my thing ready and I sat at the edge of my seat, right? And then it got three people from me and turned and looked at me like this. And I said, I'm waiting. Do you not know? It just looked at me, put his head down, and walked the other way.
Mm-hmm.
It walked the other way. And then I stood up. And I said, don't you even come back this way. Don't you put your hand on another person. It got off at the next stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that is who I am when it comes to, if it's a soul who's suffering because of their energy and they want help, I can sense that and I will be what they need. But if it's a dangerous demonic who is here, like the Bible said, the devil goes to and fro seeking whom it may devour. If you're ready to devour, be ready to get devoured, because I am not playing that. That is one thing about me. I will not engage with the demon who wants to destroy. So
Yeah.
when it comes to that energy, you have to be prepared. And people go, oh, it might be a mental issue. They might be on drugs. Well, you can have that conversation later, but you probably won't, because you'll be in the grave. Just like
Mm-hmm.
homeless people who will pick up a brick and kill somebody in a minute. You have to be ready to protect yourself, but know that you are being protected by the divine, because your work on this planet is not done. So when I work with people here in the center, I protect myself. You see, I wear this. Crystals are medicines. They are protection. I keep my black tourmaline. I keep my angel, and this is my joy ball. And I shield myself energetically, and then I have a spray that I cleanse people. I tell them, I'm gonna cleanse your energy. We can't even have a conversation until I clear you. I keep my selenite bar with me. And I can tell if somebody really is not right, I would say, you know what you need is beyond my scope of availability. You need to see a therapist. Right away. And then we work together. But other than that, at the end of the day, people need love, and you have to be able to discern, do this person, are they at the stage where they can receive my love and my light, or are they still at the stage of destroying? And they're going to have to be destroyed. That's the one thing you got to protect yourself, because if you go to try to help somebody who is not at the stage of ready to be helped, and they just want to kill, steal, and destroy like the devil, then you're going to go down with that person. You didn't use your intuition. You didn't use your wisdom. So there's a big difference there.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that my wife and I really focused on during the pandemic, was being more sensitive to that negative energy in instances and with people.
Yeah.
Like if I start talking to somebody and I just get tired, like I'm like talking to them and I'm like, okay, there's some energy vampire sucking going on here, you know, and I'm getting the shit drained out of me. And having been a draining person, when I was younger, I was conflicted as fuck about, you know, what am I supposed to be doing on this planet? Spirituality, you know, anytime I had a crush, it was like, everything was about the girl. And, you know, and I went to this other priest I was really friends with, this guy, Father Hogan. Father Dillon was the guy who was the cop. And, you know, Father Dillon was this suave guy who was this former New York City cop, and he was ripped, like I told you, ripped like Bruce Wayne and, you know, Batman and shit. And then Father Hogan was heavy, you know, hadn't been with, you know, he goes, when you come to me for relationship advice, it's kind of ironic because I went on 2 dates in high school, you know. But he was a really great guy too. I didn't appreciate him as much when I was younger, but I have over the years. But I remember I sat down and I was talking to him once, and he said to me, what the hell was I, 17? He said, your biggest flaw is you look to others for your worth and your energy. And you get your energy from them. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it stayed with me. And then the thing that was fascinating was, fast forward like 10 years later, I'm going through another relationship trauma. And he used to leave I wouldn't go to the church when people were there because I had done the lecturing. I considered being a priest, and I didn't feel comfortable. So I would go there at night when the church was dark. I lived in a nice little town, little suburb. So the church was open. And I would walk in there sometimes, pitch black, and I would go sit in a pew and I would just kind of relax and connect and meditate and pray and whatnot. And this one time the door opens up and he comes walking in, and I said, oh, Father Hogan. And he goes, is that David? And I said, yeah. And I haven't talked to him in like a year or two at that point. And he says, well, I'm about to close up the church. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I'll leave. He's like, well, no, come back to the rectory. Let's talk a little bit. So we ended up talking. One of the nice things was I said, I love the fact that the church is open. And he goes, well, who do you think I leave the church open for? And I said, I don't know. He goes, who's talking to me right now? And I said, well, me. He goes, I know you go into the church at night, and some other people do, but I know you do it a lot. So I leave it open until like 10 o'clock and then I lock it up. And then he started talking to me, and I said, you know, I'm just not into the organized religion. And he said, you know, you've only known Christianity as a child and how Christianity is explained to children. And you've had interesting thoughts over the years. He's like, but I think you need to understand it now as an adult. And I realized that was fine. That was his perspective. But I realized that I was interested in spirituality. It wasn't the Christianity or Judaism or Muslim or Islam or anything, Buddhism. I wasn't interested in any of that. I wanted to learn what all those things are trying to get to. Like, that's what was important for me. And I'm not there. I'm still working on it. You know, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah, there were times where I thought, you know, wow, I could fucking walk on water if I wanted right now. That's how on tune I am. And then
I could could transform this whole world right now.
And then you get a flat tire. Well, I didn't see that coming, you know? So, so it's like, you know.
And then you get that one flat tire turns into how bad your life really is. Like that one fox that destroys the vine.
Well, because you're living in a concept of your ego in that moment. You think that you are, you know, you got it. You figured it out. You got the mysteries of the world and, you know, on and on and on in existence. No, that's your ego having a fucking ball with you, you know? It's just, and you're like right there with it. Yeah, you know? And those are those, I hate using the word teachable moment because I think it's used so incorrectly now, but it's a learning moment for yourself on a deep level. So, but it's, you know, it's interesting. Life is interesting if you allow it to be, and it doesn't need to be horrible. And sometimes it is, and those are moments to experience and learn from. I think we've all had them.
Let me ask you a question. So, I mean, I love everything that you're sharing. How have you been able to sort of bring your life lessons as a conscious creator and the work that you do in your relationship, especially in your relationship? I have this this thing where I call conscious couples.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I always tell my clients and anyone, especially people who really acknowledge their relationship as divine, whether you label it as a soulmate or someone who you have a spiritual connection with, and you both do good work on the planet, even if that's working on yourselves as personal transformation and development. I personally believe, and through my own awakening, that it is couples who really who really hold the planet in a way that single people are not able to, when these couples are awakened and they are doing good work, whether it's in their personal lives or the extended community. But it's couples who really demonstrate that yin and yang, who demonstrate commitment, who demonstrate balancing out, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, who demonstrate unconditional love, because you get the chance when you're lifing together, you get a chance to really experience another person in all of their glory and all of their shame. Get to see if that person is really living out their true authentic self. You get to really see a person go through various stages of life, even emotionally, physically, spiritually, and every day. And I tell people, it's not even just every month or every day you choose, or even every moment. Day is too long. Every moment you choose to commit to this person. Every moment you choose to say, I love this person, and not just love them, I'm going to stay committed to this connection. And this doesn't have to be a legal marriage or whatever. When you are with someone, that's your partnership. So it's you, in every moment, you're deciding to commit to this person. The days that you don't feel like it, the days that you don't feel worthy, or you feel like you've outgrown the partnership, you're still there. Through not having the best gigs and the best jobs and the best income, to maybe you're having an abundant year where everything is great and you're with that person, and then you're having a slump and you're still with that person. So how have you, with Janine, been able to maintain your connection in all the work that you do, in all your own spiritual evolution? And if this person does not journey with you spiritually, how do you show up in that? And what are you able to teach others from being in this kind of relationship and evolving? I know that's a loaded question, but whatever you have to share, I think would be super helpful. I put your ass on the spot, Dave.
I think one of the things is that I've stopped wanting to teach anybody anything unless they're coming to me. So I'm not trying to teach. I don't try to teach Janine anything. I've also realized that like my expectations ebb and flow. So they're my expectations, they're not hers, and I can't put them on her. The other thing I found is that each time that um, I apologize for something that I don't feel at the end of the day I really need to apologize for,
Yeah.
but I keep to my sense of strength and truth inside, and I realize that I'm not I'm not becoming less than. I know who I am. I know, like, if my level's at 100, I don't dip to a 95 or an 80 if I say, "Hey, I'm sorry, blah blah blah, that bothered you or whatever." I mean, there's times I'm just going to say that's absolutely ridiculous. You're talking out of your ass. Not that I say it that way. Obviously, I'll say it a little smoother. Um, but and I think for her, she's done something, she's done similar stuff. I mean, she's grown a tremendous amount, and I've grown a tremendous amount. When we first started dating, I mean, we were friends for a while, but I got hit with a bout of depression that was brutal. I had a lot of I'd lost a lot of family members. Um, I almost died. I had some PTSD, I had a lot of stuff going on. So,
Yeah.
and it all just kind of boom, as it tends to happen when you start doing a spiritual journey or a relationship, the pressure gets turned up.
Yeah.
And if you allow it, you'll have revelations, you'll have realizations, and the pressure is very much like the earth. There's a lot of things on the planet that are very analogous for us, and pressure creates a diamond if you let it.
Yes.
And that's how I've learned to think of a lot of that stuff. And Janine and I've had our challenges, and we've worked through them. But the funny thing is, when we first started dating, I mean, before we even started dating, we would have all these people say to us, "Hey, what about Janine?" And I would say, "I don't know, what about her?" And then they would say to Janine, "What about Dave?" And she would say, "What about him? He's a nice guy, What about Janine? I mean, what about that? And I would say, "I don't know." And both of us were obtuse to it, but everyone else wasn't, which was interesting. And we were not. I wasn't even like initially physically. I would see a girl walk down the street and be, "Oh, hey, what the hell is that about?" Talk to her. And then I would call up Janine. "Hey, what's going on? Oh, you know what we should work on with this thing?" No, because we weren't supposed to. We were working on getting to know each other's inner core and our soul. That's what we really were. Realizing that for the first time in my life, I was with somebody who shared my passion of creating, of wanting to make film and wanting to. Most of the starts of everything have been some little suggestion that she gave. We started a theater company, and it was, "Why don't we do our own showcase? Why are we taking these classes?" Well, that's a great idea. I'm going to run with that. We did this project, and things didn't work out with the guy I co-created it with. And she was like, "Well, why don't we make our own film company?" Boom, Feenix Films.
I love it. Go,
Yeah. And it was just these little like moments of her throwing a spark and me being the gasoline and going, "Here we go. I'm going to go with this."
Yeah.
And I've done that with her with stuff. And I think that was the thing that we realized. And also each time I get out of my ego and she's coming to me with something, if she's like angry or upset, or it's something from her past that she's working on, and I take a moment and I step out of the ego and I just look at her and I say, "I love this person."
Yeah.
I really do. I love this person. I love the fact that she's breathing the air with me, that she's experiencing this reality. There may be others, who knows, but it deepens, it makes it more real. So I haven't had the fireworks and, "Oh, I just saw them and it was fireworks," and it was this and that.
Yeah.
Some people have that, I've been told. I don't. I have, but there's a fire to the two of us.
Yeah.
When we're together, that's unique and different than anything I had prior, you know. So
I love that.
so I think that's how we, and the fact that we share the same
Did
passion.
one of the fathers meet her before they passed?
The what?
Did one of the fathers meet her before they passed? Did they, one of your priest friends?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
if Father Hogan passed away in '04, Father Dylan passed away, I think 2 years ago.
Okay, so they both met her.
Well, and Father Dylan came and did the blessing at our wedding.
Right.
Because we didn't get married in a church, so there was this really great Protestant Reverend Voss, who was awesome, and he did it at an outside venue. And Father Dylan said, "I can't do the ceremony because it's not in a church, but I can come and do a blessing." So it was nice that he was there, and I have him on video, which was really cool, from the wedding video. And he did. We met him for dinner a couple of times. So it was nice. It was very nice. I was happy that I was able to combine, these different times in my life and these different,
Oh, that's amazing.
different things. So.
Well, you know what? We need to wrap up because it's almost 2 and I got to get back to work. But I would love to wrap this conversation up with just giving you some intuitive messages, Dave. I got the deck that Spirit guided me to pull for you.
Okay.
So I would, if you have a specific question, or I can just go for what you want, what's best for you.
You just go with whatever.
Okay, so this is a live reading with my brother DL. So we're asking Spirit, on behalf of Dave's highest resonance, his spirit guides, his higher self, we're asking for messages as we are in the full moon energy, Dave. We are also in shadow season. My favorite holiday is Halloween. And so we are dealing with, as you and I talked about earlier, our shadow and our light. So Halloween is the month, and it's also breast cancer month. So shout out to all of our breast cancer survivors, loved ones who survived breast cancer. Support any organization, donations, and your time and your energy and your money. So we're loving all of the breast cancer survivors. And so we're going to get a message that resonates for your highest and greatest good, Spirit. So what does Dave need to know now? We're going to get the energies that are around you. We are doing a 3-card pull. And so we're just going to look at what do you need to know now that will help you move forward in your life for your highest and greatest good. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to cut the deck 3 ways for Dave, universe, who continues to contribute to the lives of comedians and all entertainers. All right. Okay, brother Dave, I love this for you. We're going to get one from, as we're in the full moon, we're going to get one from the full moonology deck. So we're asking for one message that coordinates with what we already have on the table for brother Dave. 1, 2. Here we go. Oh, this is really, really, really good. Okay. Okay. So, Dave, so we have the first card. I'm going to hold it up. So the 3-card spread for you. Can you see that?
At first I thought it was 2 gophers. It's a polar bear.
Yeah, it's 2 polar bears, and it says a leg up. Can you see
Yeah,
that?
I can see it.
Okay. And that's card number. The numbers on the card is 34. Then you have elephants by
some of my favorite animals.
I love it, with number 11, and then you have the moose. Got all animals. I love it. And that's card number 21. So Dave, whatever you're dealing with right now, I feel like you are either in the process of creating something new, or there's an area of your life, whether it's your professional life, with your business, with your creativity, that you need help in. It also could be in in a relationship, because the polar bear, you see there's two people here. So this could be, polar bears are all about love. They're all about support. They're all about holding each other up and being in community. So this could be either in a personal relationship with family members, with your wife, but you're requiring help at this time, or you could possibly already be getting help. So a leg up is meaning that there's help coming in, whatever situation that you are dealing with right now, whether it's, again, a relationship or a business opportunity or a project, you are going to receive some help from somebody who is super wise. They have the connections that you need. They're going to come in and support you. Maybe they will be giving you advice. They will guide you in the right direction, or you're going to communicate with this person and resolve everything peacefully. Whatever you need is going to be super successful. With number 7 in numerology, 3 + 4 is 7. 7 means that this is going to work out very well. 7 also indicates, blessings, luck, success. It also indicates using your inner wisdom. 7 is the number that's really divinely connected to our inner wisdom and our guidance. So you are going to receive some inner wisdom and guidance from a support system. You're also being guided to connect more with community. Community is your currency. So whatever you need, look within your own community. There is support there for you. And then buy the book with the elephants. This is all prosperity. So if you've been concerned about how you're going to finance a project or finance something, or, dealing with any money issues, just know that things are going to work out. Just buy the book is following all the steps that you need to birth this idea, this project, or even in a relationship. Just not trying to miss any steps, take a shortcut. As long as you continue to move forward and do all of the steps, the inspired actions that's required, this thing is going to be super successful, because you're going to manifest the support, or you've already manifested the support. And with number 11, that is a master number. That means it's going to be successful. And 1 + 1 is 2. So this is all about partnership again. So again, if this is about a partnership, is going to work out very well. Just follow the guidelines. And then number 21 with the moose is all about courage. The moose is all about honoring your authentic voice and your authentic self. And it's also about taking responsibility for your life, for yourself, letting go of whatever's happening with another person. How this situation that you need help with could actually help by you focusing on your own. Clean it up means clean up your own shit. Don't worry about anybody else's. It also means, if this is a legal situation, or if this is a business situation, whatever you need to clean up, that's going to be by the book. Maybe you need to file taxes, or maybe you need to, cross all your T's and dot all your I's, clean up the grammar. If it's dealing with communication via the letter, I'm just getting things that are coming to me intuitively, but whatever you need to do, just make sure it's polished, it's clean, it's ready, whether it's cleaning up your communication. If you owe someone an apology, restoring integrity with a relationship, restoring integrity with your dreams. If you've been, if you said you were going to commit to something or get this project out by this time and it didn't happen, it's okay. Restore that integrity with yourself. A lot of times we promise ourselves something and it just don't happen. So cleaning all of that up will create this new possibility of you moving forward. And I feel like your next card is why. Spirit is reminding you, go back to your why. If you're feeling stuck or this thing isn't moving forward, go back to, why am I doing this? What is my intention? What am I creating this experience for? If it's in a relationship, why am I with this person? Why are we business partners? Why are we married? Why am I am in this community? Really recall why you are where you are and doing what you're doing, and let that inspire you to move forward, because it's going to be super successful. You have in between worlds, and that means that it's a waiting period right now. It's going to be successful, but it's time for you to honor where you are now. You have one foot moving toward where the green is, that's success, that's prosperity, but you're still in this gray area. Especially since this is the full moon, this is a time to really use your intuition to not take so much action, but to be the thing that you desire. So it's doors will open more by you being this way instead of the doing. We're not human doing, we're human beings, right? So it's just really important for you to just trust in your forward movement. And you got community. I just said to you, you can't make this shit up. I just said to you, your currency is community. And you got a community card. And Dave, when you really allow others to support you and not always be the giver or the wise sage, allow others to really get to know your heart and to support you, it's going to be successful. The last card you have is blessed. You are truly blessed. It's really just time for you to trust that everything is going to work out for your highest and greatest good. Even if it takes a while, just keep everything line by line, precept upon precept, clean up what you can in your own life and receive the help that's coming to you, because it is going to pop off very successfully for you. Okay. You have through the moon card, you have a new start is coming. So I feel like there's a new beginning that's going to happen for you financially, emotionally, and spiritually. I also feel like you're awakening to a whole new level. That new beginning is in your consciousness as well. Because the next card you have is balance, spirituality, and practicality. I love this card for you. So you are really at a very beautiful, pivotal moment in your life, and know that you are surrounded by the angelic realm and your higher self. And so you're being guided to really use this time to co-create with infinite intelligence, co-create with your spirit team. They are there to support you and guide you. And always make sure that your intuition is in service to your imagination. You can get out of any situation with your creativity, with your imagination, because it's the gift that serves everything in your life. And always remember that, my brother. That is your guidance.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all that. It's a little extra bonus to the conversation.
Yes, yes, amen.
Awesome. So I want to thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate it. And it was a pleasure talking to you as always.
Thank you, Dave.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
All right.